Hey everybody, this is Pastor Dan and welcome to 3 Clipboards Part 2. This is a 3-part video series here in the First Forward where we are highlighting some exciting new ways you can serve and get connected at our church this fall. I've got my 3 clipboards here. Last week we talked about joining the choir. It's a twice-a-month commitment. The choir will be singing twice a month in the church service starting in mid-September. Practices start back up September 3rd. I see a couple folks already signed up, which is awesome. We also got a few signups via email, so keep those coming. If you missed that video last week, there should be a link somewhere under this video in the First Forward where you can watch part 1 of this series, and there should also be a link where you can sign up to be part of choir. So that was last week. Next week, in the 3rd part of this series, we're going to talk about the new small groups that are starting up in the fall. This is super exciting. More to come on that, and we've already got some signups for that as well. So that I really like seeing. But for this week, I want to talk to you about the welcome team. Now, there are a ton of moving parts at our church on Sunday mornings. There's a lot of different teams, a lot of different individuals who have to come together and work together every single Sunday to make sure our worship services happen. There's a lot of spinning plates, a lot going on. If you want to see me under stress, show up to church at about 9:15 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and you'll see me usually running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It's pretty entertaining, I'll say that. There are 3 teams in particular, though, on Sunday mornings that handle the bulk of the work of welcoming people, especially new people and visitors to our church, and getting them any help or information that they need. Those teams are the ushers, the greeters, and the connection center. On any given Sunday, we'll have about 4 or more ushers, 2 to 4 greeters, and ideally about 2 people at the connection center if we're running at capacity. That's 10 people at least working as part of these 3 independent teams, doing a lot of overlapping stuff to welcome people to our church. As a result of some of that complexity and all the different things happening, there are some things that can fall through the cracks. Most weeks we run low on greeters and connection center volunteers. In fact, if you scroll down to the very bottom of this email in the First Forward where it says who's serving at church this Sunday, you will probably see help needed written for both the greeters and the connection center. You see that just about every week. On a lot of weeks we even run a bit low on ushers, which means that our head usher and a number of other key folks end up serving in an ushering capacity almost every single week. Now, we've had a ton of visitors this summer. We've had way more visitors than past years, and that's only going to grow as more and more people hear about our church and what we're doing here in Brockport. And yet, most weeks after service, I look over at the Connection Center and there's nobody there. Or even worse, there's visitors there kind of looking at the information and stuff, but looking kind of lost because there's no one there from our church to help them. Just last week, I had coffee with this lovely woman in her 60s. She visited our church back in June, one of the weeks that I was out of town. She loved the service. She loved the folks that she met and interacted with, but she said that when she arrived here at church, there was no one at the door to greet her. She went over to the Connection Center to get some more information, but there was no one there to help her. She wasn't sure who the ushers were. The church service hadn't really started yet. People hadn't started going in. The doors weren't open. She needed to use the bathroom, so she walked all over. She went to the basement. She walked all over the place looking for the women's room, and she finally walked down to Java Junction to use the toilet, and then came back to church for the service. Now, maybe this is obvious, but no visitor should have to walk 2 blocks to a coffee shop to use the restroom on a Sunday morning because they can't find help here at church. It shouldn't be easier to do that than to find someone here at the church who can help you. Here's the thing, though. I don't think this is anybody's fault. I think it's the result of some poor planning and a system for welcoming new people that is too big, too just disjointed, and a little bit too complex. And we can fix all of those things. So a few weeks ago, I met with the leaders of the Connection Center, the ushers, the greeters, and with Julie Pruss, who's our church life coordinator, to try to work out a solution. And we figured out that everything that's done each week by the ushers, the greeters, and the Connection Center, all that stuff, all the things that those 3 teams are responsible for, can be done. They can be streamlined and done on a Sunday morning by a team of just 6 people. That's 6 people instead of 10 or more. And that's where the idea for the welcome team comes from. We want to replace the current structure of ushers, greeters, and Connection Center volunteers all working separately with one team of 6 people a week handling all of it. But to do this, we're going to need some serious help. The goal here is to have at least 4 or 5 teams of 6 so that people would only have to serve on the welcome team once a month. But that still comes out, if that's 6 people and 4 to 5 teams, that's 24 to 30 people if I'm doing the math right, which is an awful lot of people. And that's why this is going to be a team effort. We're going to need everybody at church to pitch into this and to be on board and help out with this if we want to better welcome new folks to our church. Here's what we're asking for. If you join the welcome team, we want you to serve once a month. You need to show up to church by about 9:30 a.m. on the Sunday that you serve. That's about a half hour early. And then you would need to stay for an extra 15 minutes or so after the end of the service to assist with things like tear down, getting visitors information, and things like that. On most Sundays, there's not a lot you'll have to do during the service. The folks who are ushering usually do some stuff like communion and offering and things like that. But for the most part, the work is set up before the church service, right at the start of the church service, and after the church service. So that's essentially what we're asking for. We're going to be doing some training sessions later this fall to make sure that anyone who's on this team is trained and equipped to do this. And my hope is to launch this new welcome team by the new year. So that's roughly the timeline we're looking at. Anyone who's currently an usher, a greeter, or a Connection Center volunteer, you will automatically be receiving updates about this as more information and more planning comes together. For everyone else, though, please consider clicking on that button right under this video or filling out this clipboard at the Connection Center this Sunday or in a future Sunday to be part of this exciting new team. If we want our church to grow, if we want this church to thrive, if we want these new people who are discovering our church and checking us out to stick around and actually become a part of our community, we've got to do our part to welcome them. So please consider being a part of this team. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time. Grace and peace.